Let's see. Let's get back to Jeanine. Jeanine, we've been talking about Jeanine and Yeezy's issue for a minute, right? Jeanine, Yeezy, mother-in-law. Let's talk about the mother-in-law situation today. So I have a question for those of you that are listening behind the scenes right now. If you don't mind, I know you're there back there. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. I know you're busy. If you just come to the chat and say one, right? That will go a long way. But I have a question though. I have a question. Okay. Come to the chat and say one. Just put a one in the chat. And then I'll ask my question. I'll let you go back to rest. So we're talking about Jeanine, mother-in-law, Yeezy's mother-in-law, her mother, Jeanine's mother. There's something I read before today's show that I wanted to ask you questions about, right? Yep. Let's see here. Who is Jeanine? Who is Yeezy? Yeezy's a rapper. Jeanine is a TV talk show host. Recently, Yeezy filed for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. All right. He filed for divorce, but some of the reasons they gave after the fact was something with regards to differences in family value, right? So now I was listening to, I don't know what show I was listening to, but something came out with regards to the mother-in-law. That's Jeanine's mother. Apparently, she was violated when she was between the age of 9 and 16, allegedly, by a family member. Okay. And the person that did this video was basically saying that Yeezy should have seen it coming. He should have seen this coming, but it was also trying to save, you know what, right? And the person is of the opinion that Jeanine is a bloody feminist. All right. And that there's no way she could ever be a wife, right? Now, there's no way to be able to tell that, just outrightly in an absolute way like that. There are some telltale signs, okay? But people also grow, people evolve, right? So, but that person was saying, well, there's no way she could have ever been a wife. He should have known better and never wifed up this woman, especially with the track record of her family. They're saying that the mother-in-law was also Yeezy's mother-in-law was also very, she was kind of like a toxic person, right? They're saying she's kind of like a toxic person, that she was very mean to Jeanine's father. She was very, very mean. She would come home, she would yell at him. And then one day that's Jeanine's father, was just like, well, I don't do no more. And then he left, basically. All right. That's the mother right there. Mama's so proud, right? So now the words on the street is that she was actually leaving with them. And that's the question that I have today, right? That she was living with them. So if she was living with them, my question for you is that, do you think it's a good idea that your in-law lives with you? Is this always a bad idea? So not only that she was living with them, she also had a brother that was living with them. And the person that was making this point in their video was saying that, well, African Americans don't want anybody living with them. They don't like the idea of anybody living with them, right? Chiafa, right? And that's never gonna work, right? Is this true? Is this like an absolute no? Because if that was the case, why would he marry her? But maybe that happened after they got married, right? Right? Hit the like button as you're coming in. I beg, hit the like button. You know that you're going to bring 5 people in Chi as you come in now, right? So is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Just outrightly bad idea for your in-law to live with you? or sometimes it's necessary, and there are ways to mitigate the potential risk of that. That's the question that I have with regards to these people. Living in-laws, I'll tell you what, some people still believe in like a compound. Like, why don't we just get a house together? My brother, your brother, we're brothers, we're siblings. We have the grannies, everybody's in the same household. Is this something you would sign up for? Knowing what you know today, right? Is this something, like the majority of you are Nigerians, is that something you would sign up for if you had a choice? If you had a choice. If you didn't have a choice, you didn't have a choice. I think many Nigerians or many immigrants, you don't have a choice. Sometimes, like, your parents retire, you want to bring them in so they can get better health care, have access to better resources and things like that. Initially, at least, you don't have much choice. They kind of have to stay with you. Or family member, it doesn't have to be your parents, right? But this person is saying, oh, well, nah, you can't have in-laws. It's just a bad idea. It's a completely bad idea. Now, if they say it's a bad idea in their culture, who am I? Who am I to say, it's a good idea, right? But I have some take on it, and I want to talk about that. Chinye say it is not true. It's not true. It will never work, but boundaries need to be. It's not true. It will never work, but boundaries need to be drawn. Right. So, because people walk across boundaries, knowingly, unknowingly, intentionally, unintentionally. So, there kind of need to be some kind of structure in place. You need to be prepared, because, as I always said, any collaborative effort between human beings will create friction. So how much more when you bring in all this external, yes, your parents are external factors, they're extended family. Yes, anybody that's not inside of that marriage and they're not a child of that marriage are extended family. Many people don't realize that. Many people have a hard time saying that out loud like that. No, that's the reality. Once you're married to a person and you bring in children, anything outside of that, is extended family. Okay, so the fact that you have to deal with you and your spouse already, it's it's going to create friction already. The fact that there's another human being who is your spouse, supposed to be one, but to create friction. So how much more when you bring in outsiders and they can hear through the walls what's going on with you, two of you. They can feel the tension in the house. If you have a small disagreement, they might feel it. You guys might be used to it. They might feel it as a heightened situation. You just know, right? It's a real thing, right? So I think it is not true that it is just African American. I think it's across the world. I think we all would like our space, right? But if you find yourself, Nigerians, if you're living in America or living in London or Canada or anywhere outside of Nigeria, you might want to bring your parents in, maybe for holidays or something like that. Family members want to jakba, right? And they have to stay with you a little bit. So oftentimes you don't really have a choice, right? It's not a choice, because even when you feel like you have a choice, you have a choice, your partner may feel like that's not nice. Like, that's my brother. Like, you might feel guilty not saying yes to bringing their family member in. Maybe 3 years ago you guys brought your own family member in, and it's now your turn, and you're now saying, well, family member just kind of causes trouble. Then the whole fairness factor will come into your relationship. It's a competition now, and then to cause trouble. Remember, fairness factors and competition factors will cause trouble in a marriage. Write that down. Okay? Mindset. Okay, mindset. Welcome, Oluyomi. Oluyomi, hello, welcome. Oluyomi said, I don't think it's a good idea for any family member to live with you. Right. So if you had a choice, I don't think it's a good idea. Get what also is not a good idea. If there was no choice and you push against the idea that a family member is about to come and live with you, that is also not a good idea. In fact, your spouse might be like, your spouse might be scared of asking you already. They don't want to ask you. They're afraid of asking you because they already know how you go, right? But just because they didn't ask you doesn't mean the problem went away. The resentment is there, right? So yeah, just because you pushed it under the rug doesn't mean the problem went away, right? So this need for a more nuanced outlook, perspectives on these issues about marriage and relationships, right? Because the whole black and white thing, it's not working. Everybody knows what's right and wrong. We all do, okay? And oftentimes what you think is right is actually different from what I think is wrong. That's the same thing. But anyway, you get the gist, right? There are pros and cons to having relatives living with y'all. Absolutely. There's ups and downs. Just like anything else in life, it's a double-edged sword. It can cut both ways. So it's a delicate situation. It needs to be handled properly. Now, to outrightly tell yourself and gather yourself into a group and generalize and say this group of people will never take it, that's problematic, because that's oversimplifying a very complex issue, and it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anything. Case in point, Jeezy, we don't know if that's what happened, but there's a good chance, okay? Because family being around do cause issues, right? But the solution is to not accept that ever. The solution is to know that this is one additional thing that if it happens to be your reality, you need to sit down and have a conversation about how you plan to mitigate. Talk about the ups, talk about the potential downs of having this person around, and how you plan to be on the same page always, regardless of what that's going to look like. And then make it time bound, right? Time bound. If it's 3 months, make it 3 months. Making it 3 months doesn't mean it has to be 3 months by force. It just means you put a mark on it. 3 months, we're going to have a conversation about how we're going to help these people move out a little bit faster, right? Indefinitely, I think it's a bad idea. Okay, it's just it won't work for this time that we live in. All right, it won't work for this time we live in. All right, so welcome. Not to expect you to bring 5 more people in. Share. Welcome. All right, so the living in-law permanently, if there are choices, please, okay? Sometimes there's no choice. Somebody's husband passed away. The grandmother or great-grandmother's husband already passed away. You don't want to leave her alone in the house. You don't want to put her in a home, right? In the old people's home. You want her to be around family member. By the way, old people's home is not a bad idea. Don't let anyone tell you it's a bad idea, okay? There are other people that you can relate with. If you do get old, if you are 87 years of age, and you can relate to other people that can relate with your era, you can talk, people can come and see you there from time to time. You can have the life you're looking for, okay? Now, it depends on how much you got too, right? But anyway, but the idea of indefinitely, yeah. I think a lot of people simply can't handle that. Not just African Americans. I think all around the world, this is causing issues around the world. Master-in-laws is everywhere. Some of you are going to be, if you have boys, you guys don't like to hear this. If you have boys, you're going to be a master-in-law at some point. It's not a bad thing, but it just means you'll find yourself in the middle of a what somewhere with your daughter-in-law, and then you will have to figure your way out. When that happens, it's a good thing. You're going to elevate to the next level. You learn something new, and then your bond will be stronger. Okay, that's the way it works. Okay, so my wife took my mother out a few days ago. Okay, they went to eat, went to hang out. They talked about everything they can talk about. They talk about me, of course. Right? They talk about me, and then some guy, one of the servers there, came to them. My wife was telling me the story. I was like, "That's your mother-in-law. I love it. I love it. So beautiful when I see that." And she was like, she told like, yeah, because you want that. Well, it takes work to get here, right? You don't know all of the stories. You don't know. It's gonna happen to you if you got boys. Okay, it's gonna come from a blind spot. It's not gonna be. I promise you, it's not gonna be you being just straight up wicked. You're not gonna be mean to your daughter-in-law. That's not what I'm suggesting. That's usually not the problem. The issue is any collaborative efforts between human beings will create friction, and oftentimes that will come from a blind spot. Okay, and that should be your expectations. Start your expectations from there. That way, maybe you're better prepared when it does show up, right? You won't overreact. As opposed to, oh, that will never be me. Auntie, it's going to be you if you got boys, okay? Especially if that's your attitude about what I just said. It's going to be you. D-Love, welcome. You need to bring 5 people in. You do 5 people in. All right? Hit that like button, share, subscribe. All right? So I my verdict on this, living in-laws, and shy away from it. But leave room, be open-minded. It might be a situation where you don't really have a choice. Then it's not end all be all. It just means you need to prepare for it. It just means you need to make it time bound, prepare for it, and then as opposed to never. In fact, start looking for a man who does not have a mother anymore. That's terrible solutions. You think that's terrible? Well, there are many other examples like that. Terrible solutions that just will never work. Unrealistic solutions. They will never work. Okay? So you might feel like, okay, he doesn't have any mother anymore. Well, you thought that was the issue. The issue is deeper than that. Your problems are going to show up to you. The cream always rises to the top, but it will happen from a blind spot. All right, let's move on to the next story. I'll be right back.